Hey Reddit, I never thought it'd be the guy posting here, but I guess life has a way of throwing curveballs at you. I 30 for meters have been married to my wife 32F for 7 years. Together for 10. We've had our share of ups and downs, but I always thought we were solid. We bought a house together, planned trips, even talked about kids, though she always wanted to wait a little longer. About 6 months ago, I started noticing little changes. At first, it was subtle, her being too tired for intimacy, her suddenly working late a lot, or constantly texting someone but angling her phone away from me. I brushed it off because I trusted her. I figured maybe she was stressed from work, but my gut was starting to whisper that something wasn't right. The discovery wasn't some grand cinematic moment, it was stupidly ordinary. One night, she left her phone on the couch while she went to shower. Normally, she guards that thing like it's a CIA-issued device, but she must have forgotten it this time. It lit up with a notification. I wasn't snooping, honestly. I wasn't. But the preview said, "Can't wait to see you again, babe." My stomach dropped. My hands literally started shaking. I told myself maybe it was a friend joking around. Maybe I was misreading it. But curiosity got the better of me, and I unlocked it. Yes, I knew her passcode. Shed always said, "We don't keep secrets," which is ironic now. There it was, a whole thread with a guy I didn't know. Flirty messages, inside jokes, photos. She was calling him baby, sending him selfies, talking about how last time was amazing and when they'd sneak away again. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. I put the phone down so fast it almost slipped out of my hand. For a second, I just sat there, staring at the wall, trying to breathe. My wife, my partner, my supposed best friend, was talking like that with someone else. And the worst part? I realized this wasn't some one-off mistake. This was ongoing. When she came out of the shower, I was still sitting on the couch, phone in my lap. I think she knew instantly something was wrong because her face dropped the second she saw me holding it. I asked her straight up, "Who is he?" At first, she tried to play dumb. "What are you talking about?" she said, with that fake laugh she uses when she's trying to diffuse tension. I told her not to lie, that I'd seen the messages. Then came excuse number 1. "Oh, it's just a friend from work. We joke around like that. It's not serious." I finally hit my breaking point about 2 weeks after the hotel keycard incident. She had gone out with friends again, but her location, I checked, judge me, showed she was across town at some random apartment complex. When she came home later, I confronted her directly. "Where were you tonight?" She barely looked at me, kicked off her heels, and said, "Don't start. I told you. I was with Amanda." I pulled out my phone and showed her the location history. Her face froze for half a second, then she rolled her eyes and smirked like I was some kind of idiot. "Wow, so you're spying on me now. Creepy much. I was just giving Amanda's friend a ride. You're really going to blow this out of proportion." I pressed harder, brought up the hotel key. The weird lies, the attitude. That's when she snapped. She threw her purse down and yelled, "You're so paranoid. No wonder I don't want to be around you lately. You suffocate me?" Every word felt like she was flipping the situation around to make me the villain. No apology, no explanation, just venom and deflection. And then, out of nowhere, she blurted, "Fine. Yes, I've been seeing someone. Happy now? Is this what you wanted to drag out of me?" My legs went numb. I literally felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I don't think anything can prepare you for that moment when the person you trusted most casually admits they've been betraying you. When she said, "Fine, yes, I've been seeing someone," it was like my ears rang. I just stood there, staring at her, trying to process the words. My body felt heavy, but my chest was tight like I couldn't breathe. The craziest part? She looked annoyed, not guilty, not sad. Just annoyed that she'd been caught and had to say it out loud, like it forced her hand. I asked her how long it had been going on. She smirked and muttered, "Does it matter? You've been such a bore lately. At least he makes me feel alive." That line broke me. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw something, anything to match the storm inside me, but all I could do was sit down on the couch, numb. She kept talking, throwing little daggers. If you were half as ambitious as him, you never pay attention to me the way he does. Don't act like you're some perfect husband. Every sentence was another twist of the knife. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, my whole life unraveling in front of me. I stared at her and said, "We're not going to pretend last night didn't happen." That's when her mask slipped again. She sighed, rolled her eyes, and hit me with, "You're seriously still on this? I told you it didn't mean anything. You're blowing it way out of proportion." I asked her straight up if she was still seeing him. She swore no. I asked if she loved him. She scoffed and said, "Of course not, don't be dramatic." Then she flipped the script. "If you'd been paying more attention to me, maybe I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere." That was like getting stabbed. She was blaming me for her cheating. I was sitting there, broken, and she was acting like I had forced her into it. I told her I needed honesty if there was any chance of moving forward. She finally admitted half-heartedly that it was more than once, that it had been going on for a couple of months, but insisted she'd already ended it. I didn't believe her for a second. Later that same day, I got the confirmation I didn't even want. I was still reeling from her half-confession when my phone buzzed. It was a message request on Facebook from a guy I didn't recognize. It was him. The other guy. He wrote, "Hey man, I didn't know she was married. She told me you were separated. I thought you should know the truth." My heart dropped again. He sent me screenshots full-on conversations where she was telling him I was basically out of the picture, that we were only roommates now, and that she was planning on leaving me soon. The kicker? The messages were from that same week. She hadn't ended it like she claimed. She was still lying, even while I begged her for honesty. I confronted her with the screenshots. Her face turned red, then cold. She snatched the phone out of my hand and said, "He's just trying to stir up drama. Don't believe him." But the timestamps didn't lie. She was still seeing him. I didn't even go looking for it. This time it fell right in my lap. A buddy of mine texted me out of the blue. "Hey man, saw wife's name at restaurant with some dude. Looked pretty cozy. You there too?" My stomach dropped. I wasn't there, obviously. So I drove over. I don't even know what was running through my head: rage, disbelief, adrenaline. And sure enough, there she was, sitting across from a guy, leaning in, hand on his arm, laughing like I hadn't seen her laugh in months. I didn't make a scene. I just walked up to the table, looked at her dead in the eyes, and said, "So this is him." Her face went pale for half a second, then she snapped into defense mode. "Oh my God, you're stalking me now. This is pathetic." She turned to the guy and said, "He's just insecure. Ignore him." The guy looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. I told him calmly, "She's my wife." His jaw dropped. He muttered something like, "I didn't know," and then bolted. Just left her sitting there. And what did she do? Did she apologize? Did she cry? Nope. She glared at me and hissed, "Congratulations. You embarrassed me. Are you happy now?" I walked out before I completely lost it. That was the night I knew this wasn't salvageable. That night, I sat in my car outside the restaurant for almost an hour. I couldn't drive, couldn't even think straight. My hands were shaking so bad I had to grip the steering wheel just to steady myself. I kept replaying it over and over in my head, her hand on his arm, the laugh, the way she tried to dismiss me like I was some stranger harassing her, like I wasn't her husband. When I finally got home, she was already there, cool as ever. She was pouring herself a glass of wine like it was any other Tuesday night. No shame, no panic. She looked at me and said, "If you're done with your tantrum, maybe we can talk like adults." That broke something inside me. I realized she wasn't going to change, wasn't going to own up to anything. To her. Lying was just breathing. That was the moment I quietly shifted gears. Instead of trying to fix us, I started thinking about me. I grabbed an old notebook and made a list: lawyer, finances, separate account, talk to my brother about a place to crash if needed. For the first time, I felt a flicker of control again. It was tiny, buried under all the hurt, but it was there. It didn't take her long to notice I was different. I stopped engaging in her arguments. I stopped asking where she was going. I stopped caring about her excuses. I was focused on my plan. That's when she started unraveling. Suddenly, she was the one checking my phone, demanding to know where it'd been if I came home late from work. She accused me of cheating back like I was trying to get revenge. The irony would have been hilarious if it didn't feel so insane. One night, she cornered me in the kitchen, yelling, "You think you're so perfect. You'd never survive without me. You don't have the guts to leave." And then, like clockwork, she flipped the script again, tears, shaking voice, "I don't want to lose you. It was just a mistake. Can't we start fresh?" But I saw through it now. I realized every apology, every "I love you," was just another weapon to keep me stuck. The sudden swings from rage to fake remorse to blame shifting were exhausting. But weirdly, they made my decision easier. With every outburst, I felt myself detaching more and more. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was just the audience for her performance. After one of her cry and promise routines, I excused myself, went for a drive, and called a lawyer my buddy had recommended. Sitting in the car, I felt like a criminal making some secret deal, but really, I was just trying to take my life back. The lawyer was blunt. "She's already admitted to cheating. Document everything. Bank records, texts, any proof you can get. Don't confront her anymore, just gather." That flipped a switch in me. Instead of wasting energy on arguments, I started documenting. Screenshots of texts she slipped up with. Notes about nights she didn't come home. Even that hotel key card, I kept it tucked away in my sock drawer. Meanwhile, I quietly moved half my paycheck into a separate account. I changed the password on my email and set up a P.O. box for any legal mail. She didn't notice a thing. Too busy with her fun. It was surreal living under the same roof, eating at the same table, while secretly planning an exit. But for the first time in months, I didn't feel helpless. I was building my way out, brick by brick. After one of her cry and promise routines, I excused myself, went for a drive, and called a lawyer my buddy had recommended. Sitting in the car, I felt like a criminal making some secret deal, but really, I was just trying to take my life back. The lawyer was blunt. "She's already admitted to cheating. Document everything. Bank records, texts, any proof you can get. Don't confront her anymore, just gather." That flipped a switch in me. Instead of wasting energy on arguments, I started documenting. Screenshots of texts she slipped up with. Notes about nights she didn't come home. Even that hotel key card, I kept it tucked away in my sock drawer. Meanwhile, I quietly moved half my paycheck into a separate account. I changed the password on my email and set up a P.O. box for any legal mail. She didn't notice a thing. Too busy with her fun. It was surreal living under the same roof, eating at the same table, while secretly planning an exit. But for the first time in months, I didn't feel helpless. I was building my way out, brick by brick. Just when I thought I had everything under wraps, she made a mistake that blew my careful planning wide open. One evening, she came home laughing, holding her phone like a trophy. She didn't even try to hide it. I glimpsed a text pop up, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow," from the same guy I'd seen her with at the restaurant. I stayed calm, barely breathing, and just asked, "Who's that?" Her face went from smug to furious in seconds. "Why are you invading my privacy again? You're insane. This is pathetic." She lunged for her phone. I held out my hand and it slipped from her fingers. It hit the floor. She screamed, throwing a lamp across the room, shattering it. That was it. The final straw. She wasn't just lying, she was brazen, dangerous, and unhinged. And I realized I couldn't stay another second, pretending like I could work this out. That night, I slept in my car. It was freezing, uncomfortable, and miserable, but it was safe. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a tiny flicker of peace. The second she said, "This isn't what it looks like," something inside me snapped. I just laughed loud, bitter, almost manic. "Really? Kara? Half naked in a hotel room with Ben? You gonna tell me this is a business meeting?" Ben looked like he wanted to melt into the carpet. He muttered something about leaving and tried to grab his shirt. Kara immediately turned on him. "Don't you dare walk out right now." Like she was more worried about being abandoned by her side piece than about her husband standing at the door. I looked right at her and said, "You've been lying to my face for months, gaslighting me, making me feel insane, and here you are, caught in the middle of your bullshit." Her response? She crossed her arms and shot back, "Well, maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't need this." I swear my heart didn't just break, it shattered. Not an ounce of remorse. No apology. Just venom. The hotel staff came down the hall after hearing the shouting, telling us to keep it down. I told Kara I was done, that she could stay with her little boyfriend if that's what she wanted. She screamed after me as I walked away, "You're pathetic. You'll never find anyone better than me." I didn't even turn around. My chest was on fire, my hands shaking, but my mind was crystal clear. I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. There was no coming back from this. The first few weeks after moving out were surreal. Some days I felt a crushing sadness, like my whole life had been rewritten overnight. I kept replaying moments, wondering if I missed signs, questioning myself. Was I not enough? Did I fail somehow? Other days I felt rage-hot, raw anger at how easily she lied, how casually she betrayed me, how little she seemed to care. I screamed into pillows, ran for hours, and let it all out. Slowly, though, clarity started to creep in. I realized her behavior said nothing about my worth. It said everything about her character. Cheating, gaslighting, manipulating, these aren't signs of a bored spouse. They're signs of someone incapable of honesty and empathy. I also learned the importance of self-preservation. Separating finances, documenting evidence, keeping my emotions in check. They weren't just practical, they were survival. Most importantly, I realized I deserve someone who respects me, who communicates, who doesn't treat love as a game. Painful. Absolutely. But also transformative. Looking back, this whole experience has been brutal, but it's also taught me a lot. First, trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. I kept rationalizing her behavior for months, and that only prolonged my pain. Second, protect yourself emotionally, financially, and legally. Document, plan, and create boundaries. You can't always control what the other person does, but you can control how you respond. Third, remember your worth. Cheating isn't about what you're lacking, it's about what the other person is willing or unwilling to respect in a relationship. Finally, allow yourself to grieve. Betrayal is devastating, and it's okay to feel a mix of sadness, anger, and relief all at once. Don't rush the process, and don't feel guilty for stepping away from toxic dynamics. I'm not healed yet, but I feel stronger, clearer, and more grounded than I have in years. If you're going through something similar, know this: leaving someone who continually disrespects and betrays you isn't failure. It's reclaiming your life. It hurts like hell, but the alternative, staying in a house built on lies, is far worse. The morning after the hotel incident, Kara came home like nothing had happened. She walked through the door holding a bag of bagels, acting all chipper. "I thought we could have breakfast and talk," she said, like she hadn't just blown up our marriage. I didn't even answer her at first. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table, unwrapping a bagel, and started in with her damage control routine. "Look," she said, "last night got out of hand. I admit things happened with Ben, but it's not what you think. It was just physical, and it didn't mean anything. You and I, we have history, we have a life together. Are you really going to throw that away over one mistake? One mistake." I almost laughed. I reminded her about the texts, the nights out, the lies, the gaslighting. This wasn't one mistake, Kara. This was months of betrayal. She immediately flipped it again. "If you had been more attentive, I wouldn't have looked elsewhere. Do you ever think about what I needed? You left me lonely, and Ben filled the gap." It was surreal. Instead of apologizing, she was rewriting the whole story to make me the villain. She even said, "If you tell anyone about this, it'll just tell them you're insecure and controlling. No one's going to take your side." That's when I realized something important. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was actively trying to destroy my sense of reality, and I couldn't let her do that anymore. After that bagel talk, I sat in my car for 2 hours just staring at the steering wheel. My mind was racing, but there was this one crystal clear truth I couldn't ignore. I was done. Kara wasn't sorry. She wasn't even trying to fix things. She was doubling down, twisting the knife, making me feel like I had caused her to cheat. And in that moment, something inside me finally snapped the other way, not into rage or grief, but into resolve. I realized I'd been hanging on out of fear of being alone, fear of divorce, fear of losing the future I thought we'd have. But the future I imagined didn't exist anymore. She killed it. What was left was just me, and I had to protect whatever dignity I still had. That night, I told her flat out, I'm done. I want a divorce. Her jaw dropped like she couldn't believe I'd actually say it. Then she laughed and said, you won't go through with it. You need me more than I need you. That was it. That was the moment I felt the weight lift. Because for once, she was wrong. I didn't need her. I needed peace. I went upstairs, packed a bag, and left to crash at my brother's place. Driving away, I felt this strange mix of devastation and relief, like I was bleeding out, but finally free from the knife. Hey everyone, I 30 for meters never thought I'd be one of those guys posting here, but life has a way of throwing you curveballs you can't ignore. I've been married to my wife, let's call her Kara 32F, for almost 7 years. We weren't perfect, but I thought we had a solid marriage. We both worked, we laughed, we had routines, Sunday morning pancakes, movie nights on Fridays, dumb inside jokes that lasted for years. About 6 months ago, though, I started noticing little cracks. Kara got distant. Not the obvious kind, but subtle. She stopped asking me about my day, brushed me off when I tried to cuddle her on the couch, and started going to bed later than me. At first, I chalked it up to stress. She had been complaining about work a lot, new management, longer hours, that whole deal. But then it started piling up. She was glued to her phone all the time, smiling at texts she wouldn't show me, keeping it face down on the table. When I asked who she was talking to, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Don't be so paranoid. It's just work or my friends." Always with that tone, like I was the crazy one for even asking. That's when I felt the first pit in my stomach. The one you try to ignore because you want to believe your partner wouldn't betray you. I pushed it down, told myself I was overthinking. But deep down, I knew something was off. The first few weeks after moving out were a blur of anger, sadness, and endless what-ifs. I kept replaying every conversation, every fight, every subtle sign I had ignored, wondering how I didn't see it sooner. I felt like I'd been living in a house of mirrors, everything familiar twisted into lies. But slowly, things started to shift. I began focusing on myself, long runs in the morning, journaling, therapy sessions I'd been putting off for years. I allowed myself to feel every bit of pain instead of suppressing it. I cried more in those weeks than I had in years, but each tear felt like a little weight being lifted. Friends became my lifeline. Random nights out, long phone calls, even simple texts asking you okay, reminded me that I wasn't alone. And the more I leaned on them, the more I realized something important. The betrayal was hers, not mine. I hadn't failed. I had loved someone who chose deceit over honesty. That distinction made all the difference. By the end of that first month, I was still hurting, but I could breathe again. Not fully healed, not by a long shot, but enough to start imagining a life without her lies hanging over me. A couple of months in, I realized recovery wasn't just about letting go of Kara, it was about reclaiming myself. I started setting boundaries that I should have had all along. No more checking her social media, no more second-guessing every little thing, no more giving her power over my emotions. I also began rediscovering the parts of me I had neglected during the marriage, painting again, joining a local running club, even signing up for a weekend photography workshop. Small things, but they reminded me that my life could be rich and full without her. I even practiced saying things out loud to myself. I deserve honesty. I deserve respect. I deserve love that isn't conditional. It sounds cheesy, but it worked. Saying it reminded me that the betrayal wasn't my fault and that I didn't have to carry her choices as a burden. Slowly, I began to imagine a future where trust wasn't just a word but a reality, a life where I could laugh without suspicion and plan without fear of betrayal. That future felt light years away from the crushing weight of lies I had endured, and I clung to it.